Good morning and welcome to the Yuma Gardener. This is my first video and I am going to take you on a tour of my mini garden. First of all, in Yuma it's very hot, so I'm doing this video and it's about 6:15 in the morning. It's not too bad yet as far as the temperature is concerned. I live in a small RV park and I have very limited space. So as you can see, I garden in containers. These containers are very nice. They hold quite a few vegetables or plants, whatever you're putting in them. And they also maintain their moisture. I am going to be setting up a brand new garden for a friend, and I will take you through that process step by step on how I set up the containers, the storage containers, what I use for a soil mixture, and how I get everything started. I do have holes for drainage in here in these containers. I make my holes about an inch high. That way when I'm watering, the water, there's a little bit of moisture left in the bottom of the tote so that the soil maintains its moisture. I have trellised this, and this is a ladder mesh that I got from Lowe's, and this is 2 of them, and they're very lightweight, and I was able to get them in my van, and I put one in and one tote, and this one is stretched across 4 because I really don't have too many things right now in this particular tote that needs to be trellised. I use tulle to cover the plants, first of all to keep birds and things away from the plants, and also as an added sun protector. I also have a shade canopy overhead because Yuma sun can get pretty vicious and hard on your plants. So let's take a quick tour. I have growing here 2 zucchini plants, and I've got a couple of small pots on top of the soil, and actually this is a tree. These 2 are trees. Actually I've got 4 trees in here. Believe it or not, I'm growing trees. They're called Mexican, what is the name of it? Excuse my memory because sometimes I forget the names of the plants, but the pods were on a tree at the dog park, and I brought them home and I put them in a little container and put them on my counter. And later that night, these pods just started popping. It scared me at first because I didn't know what was happening, and the pods would pop and the seeds were coming out. So I just kind of thought, wow, those seeds really want to grow. So I put them in some grow pods and got them started, and now they've been transplanted to a larger pot, and they seem to be doing okay. The bottles in here are an experiment that I did last week. I was going to be out of town, and I thought I would try to put some holes in there and put water in it and so forth, and it would keep my plants moist. I don't think it worked too well. I might try it again because these plastic containers are just so soft when you push them into the ground. They just crumble. So I'm not sure about that particular project. That might have been what I call a fail. And in gardening, you'll have a lot of failed attempts. So let's see, in this particular tote, this is green beans, and they're bush beans. I did put up a small tomato trellis because when they do get taller and start producing beans, they will, it's helpful to have a little bit of support for them. Now the one in the back is also a bush bean, and it's not looking too good. So I might take it out because this one is doing well, and I don't want something that's not working to pull nutrients from the good ones. So sometimes you have to cut back, especially if you're growing in a small container. So you can see I have a couple little pots in there, and I would call those fails. But the pots were too small, and I don't know what happened with my garlic chives. I'm going to try that again because I put that in a grow bag. The grow bag is the one that is all the way here. Excuse me, I'm trying to get to it so you can see. But that's the grow bag, and nothing came up, so I am going to try that again. Gardening is an experiment, and there's no right or wrong way of doing things. It's just when you find the right way that works for you and works for your plants, then you've got a winner. So in my next pot here, I've got peppers. I've got 2 plants that seem to be doing pretty good. There's 2 smaller ones that I will probably be taking out so that they're not taking away from the 2 that are doing well. Also, I have some sage. I love herbs, and that sage smells so good. This, I could call this pot another fail. It needs to be repotted. It looks like something ate this was a zucchini, and I would say birds probably, or yeah, probably the birds. But that's okay, they need to eat too. That's a mystery plant. It's coming up. I don't know what it is yet, but I'll find out. Moving around my top layer, I call it, and I had some tomatoes in here, and they're not doing well. It was one of those silly experiments from the dollar store. I wouldn't recommend trying that. I've already used up my $1.25. There's no sense in you spending your $1.25. It just didn't work. I have some cuttings here and all over from an elephant plant that our RV park, we trimmed back and we're trying to save it. And that looks like a little tomato that's trying to come up, but I'm going to take that out and redo this tote. This is my fail on my thyme. Yeah. I don't know, this is the 3rd time I've tried to do thyme. I like thyme. I wish I had more time, literally. But anyway, we'll try that one again. So this particular tote has cucumbers in it. And as you can see, step back a little bit. The cucumbers are doing quite well. And I started with the wire mesh. I'm shooting into the sun now, but yeah, this is the wire mesh. And because I do have quite a few climbing plants over here, I started stringing back and forth the trellis to give these plants more support. so that they'll have something to cling on to. I haven't finished stringing yet, but maybe I can do a video on that. And like I said, when I set up my friend's garden, I'm going to do step-by-step instructions, starting from step 1 on setting up her garden. This is another toad, and it's doing quite well. I have some you know, I know what that is. Mint. Love mint. Purple basil. Purple basil. I love smelling the herbs in the morning. They're so... Sage. This is sage. And green basil. Now I know that the more you cut and use your herbs, the more they grow. And I got a couple more pots back there, small pots of green basil. And this is another cucumber plant. And I got this from one of the ladies that was leaving for the summer. And she had some plants, and she told me I could have them. So I went over and dug them up and moved them over here, not knowing how they were going to do. And this one's doing quite well. So I'm going to turn here to my large, I have 3 large pots going this way. And there's more of that elephant bush that I'm trying to grow, and miniature morning glory. And oh my goodness, are we in for a treat this morning, because 2 morning glory flowers have bloomed. They are beautiful. They are beautiful. Unfortunately, the flowers don't last very long. Here's another one. And just as a little bit of a surprise, there's a hummer. He loves that. Of course, I put out a feeder, but this is tuberosa. And usually a tuberosa has orange flowers, and for some reason mine has yellow, but they look a little bit like they might be turning orange. I'm not sure. But this is a native plant. It's called tuberosa, and I have it growing in a very large container, and the hummingbirds love that plant. So I skipped over my tree. This is my 3rd attempt at growing this tree. This tree is a moringa tree. And a moringa tree has so many healthy properties. You can take the leaves and eat them in a green drink, or you can dry them out and make a powder and have a tea. I guess you could try the green leaves as a tea too. I might try that, but right now, because it's just growing, and I'd say 3 feet tall right now, I'm not anxious to take off too many of its leaves. I'm gonna let those leaves stay on there and help it grow. So this is my side yard here, and like I said, I'm in a very tiny space, so I may try to make use of every inch that I have. I'm going to come back around, because now I'm going to show you my second lower level of my miniature garden. And in this particular tote, you will see that I have, these are carrots. And my carrots seem to be doing quite well. I did put in a squash over here. I think that by the time the carrots are done, the squash might be ready. This is a volunteer came up on its own, collard green. It's interfering with the lettuce, so it's not growing very well. This is my celery. I love celery. But celery takes a lot of water, so you have to water this a lot. But I just love the way it grows. I love the green leaves. You can eat it, take in a stalk at a time and chop it up and put it in your salad, make a green drink out of the leaves. So celery is one of my favorites. My next tote here is another collard green that came up as a volunteer. I've been trying to grow collard greens for a couple of seasons and always getting those little caterpillars on them that eat up the leaves. And this one came up on its own, so I said I'm gonna let it. I was giving up on cauliflower, not cauliflower, but collard greens. And I said, well, I'm gonna let this grow. And I made this cover for it. And there's a couple of other volunteers in here. I need to find out what those are. If anybody knows what this one is, put a comment in the comments below as to what that plant might be. But next time I take you on a tour, hopefully I'll have it marked and I'll know what it is. These two buckets are lettuce that I let go to seed, and it doesn't look nice, but sometimes gardens don't always look as pretty as they are on Pinterest. But I got them covered because I'm hoping that the seeds are going to drop down in the buckets, and when I take these plants, I'm going to just crush them up in the bucket that they're in and cover them with some fresh soil and see what happens. Hopefully I'll get some lettuce that loves to grow here. And over here is, I don't know, this is kind of like my nursery, I guess you could call it, because I have a lot of plants in here. And believe it or not, most of these plants are trees from seeds that I had that just started popping open, and I thought, okay, you want to grow? I'll grow you. So this one, this is the orchid tree. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4 orchid trees that were set out on June the 1st. And these orchid trees were put out yesterday, June the 9th, so there's 4 of them, and I'm not too sure about those. Hopefully they will make it. And that is a Galleria flower that has been in here for a while. I have some more on the other side of the fence, so we'll see how those do. It looks like the first purple orchid trees that I put in are doing quite well. So gardening is a messy business, so I'm not trying to hide anything from you. I'm a messy gardener, and you know, like, dirt can be dirty. So this is a sweet potato plant, and I've not grown root plants before, not even the carrots, so I'm waiting to see what happens with sweet potato plants. Over here I have some flowers. This is a Mexican petunia. Hummingbirds. I put out flowers. I started growing flowers for the hummingbirds. And step out here into my doggy play area. He's taking over some of my garden. I'm on the other side of the fence now. And these are 6 of the Celery that I started from seed. There's 6 there and 3 in a grow bag. So they're doing pretty good. People give me plants, and sometimes I can save them and sometimes they can't. That was a gifted plant. It struggled, but it's got a flower on it, so I would say it's coming back. This is another gifted plant that really was dead. I pretty much just trimmed it back, cut it off down to nothing, and took all the brown leaves off of it, and it seems to be doing well. I had a tomato that I accidentally broke one of the limbs off, and I just stuck it in there just to see what's going to happen. My mums, I haven't had time to deadhead them. I just need to trim them, and they'll do just fine. It's just that the flowers need to be trimmed. Let's see. Coming around. Another root plant. I have no idea what I'm doing with that. Those are onions. I'm waiting to see what they're going to do. And this is supposed to be a purple tree color. I don't know. But like I said, sometimes things take a while to get started, and we just have to wait and see how they're going to do. I have some large elephant plants that I've had now for about 3 years. These grow in Arizona. They love the heat, and they're very drought tolerant. I have 3 of them going down the driveway. I don't want to turn you too fast, but this is another volunteer petunia that came up, so I'm just letting it go. My tomatoes are terrible. These are from my winter garden, and they still have tomatoes coming out, so I'm leaving them. I need to take off these tomatoes and trim off the brown leaves, and they're all indeterminate, so we'll see how they grow. If they're not doing well, then we can start over in the fall, because we start planting again for the fall. This is an amazing plant. As you can see, I got these thin trellises. Well, they're not really trellises. They're those same thing ladder mesh that I got from Lowe's. And this plant, it came up on its own this year. I had it in this bucket last year, and it came back on its own, and it is growing all the way up to the top of the so it's a vine, and it's Malabar spinach. Now, Malabar spinach is good for you. You can eat the leaves if you like stir fry. You can slice up the leaves and throw them in your stir fry, but don't cook them too long, because the leaves will get a little bit slimy, because they're kind of a succulent type leaf, and it grows so fast. So I'm thinking I'm going to take this mesh right here, and I have 2 of them. I'm going to tie them together and see if I can't link them over the top of my shade structure, because I think this thing is just going to keep on going and going and going. We'll watch it, because it grows very quickly. So this is outside the fence. I'm overflowing with my garden. I have to try to contain it, because like I said, I'm in an RV park, and I only have a certain amount of space, but I try to use as much of it as I possibly can. So I have some potted plants here. That one is a petunia that's doing quite well. I've got two right here that probably need to be replanted, and one is a maybe. It's kind of doing okay, and one needs to be replanted again. So, you know, these gardeners that have all these beautiful plants and everything grows, more power to them, because in Arizona, it's kind of a hit and miss. When I moved here, this vine, and there's 3 plants covering this lattice. Along the side here, there's 3 plants, and they're called crossvine, and they're more native to the south. But when they flower, they do attract pollinators. The birds, I have another. He's a hummer. He's flying around. He's got food, so I don't know what he's trying to tell me. Maybe he just wants to be the star of this. So this is a salvia, and I had in these pots all across here nasturtiums, and the nasturtiums died back, and they dropped a lot of their seeds. So I'm hoping that next spring I'm going to have nasturtiums all the way across, just below at the bottom of my lattice. So I have some sweet potatoes, 2 pots. One's not doing too well. I got a lot of holes in those leaves. I don't know what's causing it, probably some caterpillar or whatever. This one seems to be doing okay. It's growing, and I'm trying to keep the leaves up off of the ground. This purple plant is hardy. Can you see it? Where is it? This one is a purple plant, and it takes very little water. It's very drought tolerant, and it gets pink flowers on it. This is an experiment with supposedly walking onions. I bought them as walking onions, but they're not doing that well, and I'm just hoping some kind of miracle is going to happen and walking onions are going to grow. So I have I have 2 plants here. One died, the other one is still alive, and that's what happens when you garden out here. And so I don't know, this one seems to be doing okay. I'm not sure. And I have 2 honeysuckles. I wanted one on each side of my driveway, but sorry about that. Just because I wanted it didn't mean that the plant wanted it. So this one was on the other side, and it was getting more sun than this one that is growing quite well. It's a vine, and I'm hoping to grow it all the way up my cover here so we can cover up some of these poles. This one, after I moved it, started to do quite well. You can see the difference in the color of the leaves. So sometimes we think we want to decorate our yard a certain way with plants, and then the plants are saying, I don't think so. Over here I have more plants. People, when they left for the summer, dropped off some plants. This is a pygmy palm, and let me get out of the sun. This is a firecracker plant. It's good for hummingbirds, and I was growing it in a grow bag, and those grow bags out here in Yuma, they really dry out fast. So I put it in a plastic bag to hold in some of the moisture. So I just have some flowers around here, petunias. My dog chewed these all the way down to the ground, and then they started to come back, so he's Master Gardener of the Year. This is a Mexican petunia. This is a native plant, and it blossoms purple flowers. So I have some geraniums, and I have okay, just brain fog right there. But these are some geraniums. Vinca, they do quite well too, but I'm probably going to have to give this some food because these leaves are turning yellow, and that might be a nitrogen deficiency, so I don't know. This was gifted. It was in a pot. I repotted it, and I put it in one of those grow bags, and it's not doing all that great. More geraniums. Some other plants down here, bougainvillea. And then over in that far corner there, that is going to be just cacti. So that's pretty much it. This bougainvillea, I cut it back because it was just one lonely branch. And when you cut it back, then they develop more branches. And this one came with the house, and it was already planted in the ground. So a couple more plants on the porch here, aloe vera, and some cacti. More cacti. Another cacti. So that's it. This is the first tour of the Yuma Gardener channel. If you want to keep up on the progress of what's happening here, what's working and what's not working, if you have any suggestions on what I should try in the desert heat, mostly my plants are in pots or some kind of containers, please put a comment below. If you like just watching what's going on in the Yuma garden, like this video, and I will put up more videos for you soon. So thank you, and remember that if I can grow it in Yuma, you can grow it anywhere.